Hi everyone, Stjepan here. Sorry for not uploading for 2 days, but I have some personal stuff going on that requires a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy and, well, a lot of nerves. So I couldn't really concentrate on doing much for the channel the last few days. But yeah, now I'll try to keep up according to the recording schedule. And today I want to show my league game from yesterday, which was probably the most complicated game I've ever played. And I felt like someone beat me up after the game. I was so tired and I calculated a lot. There were a lot of options in the game, a lot of tactical opportunities, and it could have been a draw and a win for either player at several points in the game. I hope you like the game, and I'm sort of happy because I played aggressively. I wasn't afraid. I was playing a high-rated opponent and I didn't back down. So we were playing a high-rated team on every board. I ended up playing board 2, even though I've been preparing for board 3 for the black pieces throughout the week since the last league game. And one of our teammates couldn't make it to the game, so we all went up a board. I didn't want us to stay on the same boards because, well, I figured playing higher-rated opponents than we should have will benefit us. So I was supposed to play board 3 with black, ended up playing board 2 with white. My opponent was 21-17, a very strong and a very experienced player who doesn't have too many games online I could learn from, and who, of course, I didn't prepare for at all because I was preparing for the black pieces and I was preparing for a different player. So anyway, I sit down on the board, I play e4, he plays d6. And I have to say I was happy because I wanted to play an aggressive game, I wanted to go for the win, and now I got to play my insane lion's jaw setup against the Pirc, which is very volatile. White keeps his king in the center and basically agrees to the fact that he can either lose or win, depending on which player sees tactics better. So the setup is after d4, g6, it's a slightly unusual move order. He could have played knight f6 first. I play bishop e3 and I play queen d2. Now this is the exact same setup I've played against Medak Bojan, a FIDE master, and I defeated him 23-50, so I was pretty confident. He also played c5, to which I responded with c3. We get this pawn exchange, and now we have a sort of Sicilian dragon setup with these pawns on d6 and g6. He played knight c6, knight c3, and now he played a6. To this, of course, threat is b5 and playing bishop b7, getting the bishop to this long diagonal, which isn't really that scary for me, but I still wanted to trick him, sort of, so I played rook c1. Now, if he plays b5, I simply win the game because of knight takes b5, pawn takes b5, bishop takes, and I'm just going to win. I'm going to be a pawn up, and if he takes my a pawn, his king is in more trouble than mine. So after rook c1, he didn't play that, he played knight f6, and now I went for my setup, f3. Of course, it's way more sensible to play knight f3 and continue playing normally against the Pirc, but as I said, this is what I had prepared. And this is a setup I've been playing for a while now and that I really enjoy. The point is, you're going to play g4, knight e2, knight g3, and then you're going to play g5. And when you play g5 and the knight is on f6, the knight can either go back or it can go to h5. If it goes to h5, you simply take it and double black's pawns. If black takes your knight on g3, you're going to recapture and have the open h file to work with. And this is exactly how I defeated Medak. So bishop d7, now reinforcing the idea of b5. Now, of course, I cannot take because, well, I lose a piece. So now I decided to ignore b5, b4. I can always retreat my knight. That doesn't really matter. So knight g2, e2, b5, and now g4. And now the position is quite pleasant for white. The engine is going to tell you that it's equal, but it's never equal. White is just better here. Rook c8, and now I made probably my biggest mistake of the game. This is a strategic mistake and a move order mistake, which I don't know why I did it. I tried to analyze this position for a while and try to reconstruct what was going in my head at the time, and I have to be honest, I didn't even consider the best move, which I know is the best move. So what I should have played here is g5 immediately, and after g5 he shouldn't really go back. His only option is knight h5, and now I play the move knight g3. And this is what I was talking about. If he allows me to take, then, well, he has doubled pawns. If he takes my knight, then this can be really scary. He's never going to castle, and I still have a huge attack going on. So that's definitely the best move, and I played it already once in a tournament game. I played it twice, actually, and I honestly don't know what went on in my head and what made me play knight g3 first. Obviously, knight g3 has a flaw. Now, ideally, if he castles, then I just win the game. I play g5, and this is now indefensible for black. He can only go back, but if he goes back, I go h4. If he goes knight h5, then I just take it, and, well, you can see what's coming. This is indefensible for black. So after knight g3, he cannot castle, he has to play h5, and he did play it. And after he played h5, I was just disgusted with my play, because I had a plan, I wanted to force it through, and then I messed up the move order. A similar thing happened in my game against the German 2100 in Split Open, where I prepared the queen g4 in the French Tarrasch, and I just failed to play the correct move order, which was even more stupid than this, because this is a setup and an idea, and that was, in that game, an exact move order I had to follow. So now after h5, I don't have any better options but to play g5 and allow this, and he castles, and now I don't have an attack. There's just no attack here. And the only thing I can try is f4, f5, and here I started being happy again. White has to be better here. Okay, let me explain that. So if I turn on the engine, you can see that it's +1, and I did play f4. Why is white better? Because this knight is offside, and the only way to activate the knight is to either play f6 or f5, or move the rook away and play knight f8, knight e6, which takes a lot of time. So white is basically a piece up for the moment. And even though white's king is way less safe, white has great attacking prospects, and f4. Now, if you play something like f6, trying to liberate immediately, then I believe white should just be winning with the move f5. Yeah, this is now +2, +3. And I get a huge attack. So he needs to play in the center, and he only has one move here, and that's e5. And that's what I calculated, that's what I expected, and that's what he played. Now if you look at the position, it's almost +2 for white, and I knew that I had to be better. But here comes my worst mistake. Well, yeah, my worst mistake of the game. So my calculation went as follows. F takes e5, d takes e5, d5, knight e7. And okay, then I thought, well, f takes e5, d takes e5, d5, knight a5 doesn't really work. F takes e5, d takes e5, d5, knight b8 is ridiculous. And then I saw, well, f takes e5, d takes e5, d5, knight d4. Well, I just take that, and I win a pawn. Of course, my idiot mind failed to see that the bishop is defending from g7, and sometimes I have these blind spots and just ruin a great position because of not factoring in a really obvious factor in the position. Now, the second option I was calculating, of course, was d takes. I also looked at f5, but it's too slow. He's just going to take, and they lose a piece. So the other option I was looking at is d takes. Of course, he has to take with the pawn, d takes, and now f5. And this I really liked because I don't see a good option for black. I don't know what he plays. So, I mean, here, if he has to take, then, yeah, okay, knight takes. If knight here is the best move, losing a pawn, then fine. I was calculating after the game, bishop f5, and now I simply take the queen, rook takes, and I take the bishop, and now I mean, he's playing two pieces down, and there's no defense to that. And after e5, I didn't even think for so long, and I played the move f takes, because as I said, I failed to see that knight d4 doesn't win a pawn. And I figured, well, I have a passed pawn, I'm still playing against the knight on h7, how bad can it be after he played knight d4 and I wanted to kill myself? So now I cannot take, of course, it's opening up his bishop and my position is ruined. I need to play for my passed pawn and try to castle. The problem is I cannot castle now because I have to move my bishop and he's threatening knight f3. winning my queen. So I either have to play bishop e2 or bishop g2. So here, instead of after e5, I had a long think after the position is, as you can see, dead lost for me. And this difference after e5 of taking with the d pawn or with the f pawn is just a win or a loss, and that's how complicated the position was. I ended up playing bishop g2, and now he did play b4, which I was happy to see, knight ce2, took the rook, which is correct, queen takes, and now he played the move queen a5, which I didn't really like. So the thing is, I have to defend. He's threatening the move b3 and simply queening. I can never take here, I'm sorry, on d4. So I play the move queen d2, and of course if b3 I just take the queen. So what he should have played here is rook c8, simply increasing the pressure, and I can never win a pawn here. Let's say I try to do this, and I take here. Now he obviously just takes with the bishop, queen takes, and now he plays b3 and wins once I move my king. Rook here, and the position is busted. He is going to get another queen or checkmate me. So after queen d2, he should have done that. Just rook c8 and continue with his pressure. Instead of that, he blundered with knight takes c2, knight takes c2, and now white is in fact better. So now once again we have a switch from losing for white to winning for white, because now he allowed me to consolidate. He got rid of his best piece in the position, and I'm still threatening the move a6. He continued with f5, which is, in my opinion, a good human move, but imprecise. Now let me just show you that en passant doesn't work, because I activate his knight. He has a beautiful square here and pressure on e4, so I'm never going to do that. The other option I had was a6, which fails to f4, winning either my bishop or my knight. And the other option I was looking at was castles, which fails for the same reason, simply f4, winning a piece. So with deduction, you come to the only logical move, e takes f, and now he has only one good move, and that's g takes f, because he needs to keep the pressure in the position. And now I had my longest think of the game and made the worst move of the game. So now once again, I don't have time for f6 because of f4 wins my piece. I don't have time for castles because of f4 wins my piece. I cannot move my queen because b3 queens and wins for black. So how exactly do I defend? Now, let's say I do nothing. Let's say I play something stupid like rook g1, and he doesn't play the best move, but he takes here instead. I didn't really want this trade to happen. I was afraid of his queen infiltrating my position and this bishop becoming active. So something like this I really didn't like. But after g takes f5, I wanted to stop this move, and then after he takes on a2, he can also win the d5 pawn after I take on b4. So I was looking for options which don't lose my piece with f4, f3, and which defend a2. The move I was calculating the most, which is the best move, which I didn't have the courage to play, was d6. And d6 threatens to exchange the queens with check. Of course, if he takes my a2 pawn, then bishop d5 wins the queen. So he doesn't have time for that. What discouraged me from playing this was the move bishop e6. And after bishop e6, what I didn't like in this position, even though I've now saved my d5 pawn, and if he ever takes here, I can just take on b4. What I didn't like is that after bishop f3, which probably has to be played attacking h5, and f4, bishop f2, I didn't see my advantage here, and I didn't see how I'm going to defend the d6 pawn. So what I was looking at was something like rook here, or let's say he defends first. Or maybe he doesn't have to defend. Let's see what the best move is. Queen b5, I don't understand queen b5. What if I don't castle? What if I just take here? What's the threat? Okay. Okay, queen b5 with the plan of queen c6. No human is going to see that. Okay, so d6 was what I had calculated for half an hour. And I spent most of my time here. After I've played my next move, I had only half an hour left. And I didn't end up playing d6. As I said, I played the worst, most passive move, the most disgusting move, underestimating these two pawns horribly. I played knight c1, which stops f4 because it doesn't win a piece, but it simply loses for white. Now f4, of course, I have to play bishop f2, and now e4, a wonderful move, after which I can resign. Now, of course, if I take here, he attacks my bishop and I defend with the queen. He just plays the move b3, and now I don't see what I'm supposed to do. He's just going to queen, or yeah, win my king. So yeah, I was actually calculating king d1, but this has to fail for another reason. Yeah, as you can see, this is busted. So after e4, I cannot take the pawn. The thing I was calculating the most was castles and just allowing this, which I thought could be survivable, but not really. I mean, no, actually, no, there's no way I could survive this. And then I started calculating d6 again, hoping that he's not going to play the best move. So d6, once again threatening to exchange the queens if he tries to fork my pieces. Now what he should have played is simply bishop c6, stopping queen d5, and now I can just resign. I have to castle e3, and now we get the same variation in which I'm dead lost, and he should have done that. However, after d6, he played e3, allowing me to exchange the queens, which I was really happy to see. Now, when this happens, of course, I'm still worse, and he should simply take here, in my opinion, and after I save my knight or do something else, I mean, he's just a pawn up, and I should resign. But after bishop g1, yeah, this was also a very good move, just threatening to take here and threatening check here and rook d8. I thought this was also a very good idea. But after bishop g1, he played the move bishop e5, which wasn't as precise. He's going to take on d6, but now knight d3, bishop d6, and bishop f3. And I'm trying to create a fortress, and I'm putting pressure on his position. Bishop b5 was played, knight c1. I cannot defend with my king because I'm pinned. Bishop e5, rook h2, and now I started feeling more confident. After rook c8, king d1, I'm still dead lost, but, well, it's not easy to win this, because if I win this pawn, if I manage to weaken this structure, I could survive. Rook c2, rook d8 check, king e1, bishop a4 was played. I cannot play b3. If I play b3, just bishop e8, and this check is going to be devastating, and he also has bishop g6. So I played knight b3. Bishop e8, and now knight takes a5, and I thought I was good here, equal. And of course he doesn't have rook a8 because I take with my bishop. I'm threatening to take on h5 if his bishop moves, and my position is good now. He played bishop g6, which I was happy to see, and now rook c6. And if I turn on the engine now, it went from -4 for black to almost equal, which is incredible. Bishop f8, now I played knight c4, chasing his other bishop away. And now we come to a point where I played a really risky move, which I thought was a disastrous move after the game, but it turns out it's not that bad. So what I should have played is something like rook b6, putting pressure on this pawn, something like, I don't know, bishop d3, bishop e2, takes, knight d7, takes on b4, bishop d6, and the position should be equal. With perfect play, black should be able to win this with the pawns. The engines give it as -1. But after he'd played bishop b8, I thought, well, I have time to do this, and I decided to take on h5. This is a tactical piece sacrifice. I win the piece back immediately with rook h6. That's exactly what happened. The problem is, after he'd played rook e8, he's now threatening to advance his pawns. I have to save my rook with rook h6, and now he plays knight g6. And what I failed to see in my calculation, and at this point I had around 4 minutes left, so I didn't have time for long things, even before bishop takes h5. I didn't see that this just fails. I cannot play h5 because he's forking me here, and, well, I'm just going to lose. So I was trying to make something like this work, but obviously it doesn't work because he checks me here, and I just lose the game. So yeah, that doesn't work. So after knight g6, I played b3, trying to reinforce my knight. Bishop c7, which is a mistake. He should have played bishop a7 immediately, which he played later. King f1, and now I didn't see that I can play... There's a crazy engine line here, which makes perfect sense when you see it. King e2. I didn't want to play this move throughout the game because I thought it loses. Of course, if I manage to play king f3, then I might be fine. But the variation that's just bad for me is this, and this should be just dead lost. Even before, when the rook was on e8, if I try this, now it fails even more. I have to do this, takes here, rook takes, and now I can continue with h5. And this is a dead draw. I have 3 pawns for the piece, and it's an easy draw, which I failed to see. So after bishop b8, I still played king f1, bishop a7, and now the game is just busted. King e1, f3. And now what I have to try to do here, which I didn't play, I played bishop h2 in side note and just lost, because after bishop h2, f2 check, and game over. Yeah, if I try king e2, then he probably checks me here and wins later, although, wait, this is mate in 9, so this is my best move. Oh yeah, he can just queen here. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. So what I should have done after f3 is just bishop takes pawn, and after bishop takes, knight takes, and I should try to survive this position, which is a draw once again if black messes up, but it's hard to prove that it's a draw. So I ended up losing the game. It was extremely complicated. Knight g3 instead of g5, first horrible mistake. F takes e5 instead of d takes e5, second horrible mistake. And instead of d6, which I've calculated for a long time, playing knight c1 is the third and final error. I'm not going to count not seeing king e2, even though that's very instructive, because it's really hard to see. And I'm going to try to learn from that as well. But these 3 mistakes were definitely decisive. I truly believe that had I played g5, well, I don't know if I would have won the game, but it would have been a completely different game. So try to learn from my mistakes if you can. I think this game was extremely instructive. I think I played well, or my strategy was good. I decided to go into an attacking position against a stronger player. I didn't want to play something passive. I didn't want to play the classical Pirc or something, I don't know, something not aggressive. Didn't pay off in the end, but it was good practice. Those 4 hours that the game lasted were hardcore training. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think about the game, and stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.